Everyone for joining us tonight and happy Sleep Awareness Week. We just wanted to start off by thanking you all for being able to join us tonight. We have a really great group here of different press and influencer contacts, including people from all over the country joining us, which is really exciting. People who cover health and wellness, sleep, design, and so much more. So we have a really great group. And as you saw from our intro, we have a really great expert panelists here joining us tonight. So we have Pat Wallace, who's the CEO and founder of the Luxury Bed Collection. We have Dr. Michael Breus, aka the Sleep Doctor, who's going to be talking with you all on how to achieve an effective night's sleep. And then we have Kimberly Ritt, who's an integrative wellness coach and founder of Be Hue, who's going to be leading us through a restorative yoga flow. And then to end off the evening, we're going to be doing a live Q&A. But if you have any questions that pop up before them, feel free to type them in the chat box, which you can find at the bottom of your screen, and we'll make sure to address them. So if everyone right now can make sure that they are on mute, I'm going to kick things off to Pat Wallace to start us off for tonight.
Thank you so much, Catherine. So welcome everybody. It's quite a week, and the focus this week is National Sleep Awareness. And what's I always think stories are the best. Like, why do people get into things that they get into? And this goes back 17 years ago. I was a working mom with 2 little kids. And when I wasn't getting sleep and I had to go perform at work for, 10 hours a day, it was like the worst hangover ever. And coming from the luxury furniture business, when I was introduced to Heston's, I was prepared to understand the value of how these products were built, the materials that they used, and the bottom line was the comfort. And to Michael's comment, to anybody who had joined earlier, that having the right equipment, i.e. like the right running shoes, if you're a runner, and how they fit your foot, it's the same with a mattress. And I learned that 17 years ago in Sweden. And when you're fitted for the right mattress, it's the right model, the right tension based on your height and weight and how you sleep, it's a game changer. And it's the same when you find that right running shoe or that right ski boot. When it fits, you can just keep going. So it's amazing. So that's what led me to, I had the first Heston's concept store in North America in 2005. And in 2009, we added some additional brands, England's premier brand, Vispring, and then linens, pillows, because we discovered too that it is the whole package. The right pillow, the right linens, the weight of everything based on how you sleep makes an enormous difference. You fall asleep faster, you move less, and at the end, you awake so well rested. So our tagline is invest in rest because it makes an enormous difference. And we partner with people, with experts like Dr. Breus. I'm not a sleep expert, he is, but we understand because we read the books how all of these things combined in what you do actually help support the great night's sleep. And same with Kimberly, because it's what you also do before you go to bed, your lifestyle. And also we partner with a lot of interior designers because the room, how quiet it is, how dark it is, how cool it is, all of these things add to the complete package of how to get the best sleep. So from there, I'm going to turn it to the experts. I've learned all about these great products and we educate people on them to help them get the right ones, but these experts can help on all the other topics.
Thanks, Pat.
Sure.
And on that note, we're going to be kicking things off to Dr. Michael Breus. So better known as the Sleep Doctor, Dr. Michael Breus is a high performance sleep coach who has worked with everyone from politicians to athletes to Fortune 100 CEOs. So Dr. Breus, I will hand things over to you.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. So hello, everybody. Good evening for folks out there. I have actually been up since 3 o'clock this morning. I have to share that. So I did a satellite media tour this morning for a pharmaceutical company with a new insomnia medication, but I was doing it for a non-branded website, which was very interesting. I'd never done any of that kind of work before. So I had to hack my sleep a little bit and make sure that I slept well. And Pat and I were discussing before everybody joined us about that actual experience. Sleep is such a fascinating area of study. I've been in and around sleep medicine for 23 years as a practicing doc. And to be clear, I have a PhD in clinical psychology, but I'm medically board certified. So I'm the crazy guy that actually took the medical boards without going to medical school and passed. I'm one of 168 lunatics that have ever done that. But I've been practicing sleep medicine my entire career, and it's really a quite fascinating area of study, but it really is very much like running, just as Mary Pat and I were discussing. It's a performance activity. And so when you've got the right equipment, you really do perform better. I'm going to do about a 20-minute or so lecture just to kind of give everybody some understanding of what's going on in the sleep universe. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID and sleep, if that's something that's of interest to you. And I'll let you know as we go through. If you have questions, feel free to throw them over in the chat, because I've got my chat box open. I'm not sure if it's open while I actually do the slides. If it's not, then Catherine, if you could maybe figure out a way to let me know, or I'll take a break every now and then. We can check for questions if that's okay. Are we good with that, Catherine?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to share my screen right now. Boom. So here we go. I think everybody should be able to see this, and voila. So sleep in and of itself is a very interesting process in the brain. And it turns out that there are two distinct processes that have to combine together in a balanced way in order for you to sleep. One is called your sleep drive. So this is what we call the homeostatic drive for sleep. I equate it a lot to something like hunger, right? So I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. I eat something, and that hunger begins to dissipate. The same holds true with sleep. When a cell eats a piece of glucose, right, something comes out the back end. One of those things is a substance called adenosine. Adenosine works its way through your system, gets to a very specific receptor site area in your brain. As the adenosine accumulates, you get sleepier and sleepier and sleepier. That's kind of how sleep drive works, but that's really only one part of the puzzle. The second part is called sleep rhythm. This refers to your circadian rhythm. So just like hunger, again, you get hungry sort of at breakfast time, at lunchtime, and at dinner time. The same holds true with sleep. Most people, at least here in North America, get sleepy somewhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night. So that's kind of where we find people. Now, there are early birds and there are night owls, and we'll talk about those coming up in a second. But it's pretty interesting. But when your rhythm is in balance and your drive is high, you sleep, right? That's how that works. But if either one of those is off, that's when you end up with a sleep disorder. Now, this graph represents sleep stages. So you may remember way back in high school biology or whatever, that there are different stages to sleep. So there's wake, which is represented here by the orange bar. There is light sleep, which is represented by the light gray here. Then we go into deep sleep, which is represented by the blue. That's stages 3 and 4. For your memory's sake, back into light sleep, which is stages 1 and 2, and then on into the very light blue, which is REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement sleep. Now, what's cool about this is this represents an entire night of sleep for this individual. There's a couple things to note here. So from orange to the first light blue, that's considered to be a sleep cycle. That's roughly approximately 90 minutes long on average, okay? So keep that number stored in your brain because it's something you're going to use in a minute. We also count sleep cycles by the number of REM phases that somebody has. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the average number of REM cycles that an individual has. So 90-minute cycles, 5 of them across the night. So what do the stages do, and why do we care, and all that kind of good stuff? Stage 3, 4, or deep sleep, it represents about 23% of the night. This is your wake up and feel great sleep. It's the most physical restoration that you'll receive. Your blood pressure drops, your respiration slows, and something called growth hormone is emitted. Now, growth hormone is a very interesting substance. I kind of think of it like if you drove your car into the body shop and you got all the dents and the dings and the scratches pulled out. That's what growth hormone does, but for your body every single night. And then remember, this happens mostly in the very first third of the night. REM sleep, on the other hand, REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, this is for your most mentally restorative sleep. So this is important for many reasons. One of them is for moving information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. And so what we now understand from REM sleep is that what it does is it creates this organizational substructure inside your brain, and data is coming in through your eyes and your ears and your nose, right, and your mouth. And so you want to remember that. And so it's got to take that piece of data and find the right filing cabinet, the right file drawer, and the right file to deposit the information. Well, to be fair, there's thousands and thousands of pieces of information, and so it's not so easy to always get it exactly right. So we believe that some of the bizarre nature of the dreams is that it's kind of catching on the wrong file. So if you have a dream where you wake up that you walk downstairs and your dog is eating a bowl of spaghetti at your kitchen table with your second grade teacher, what may really have happened is you had Italian for dinner at a place you want to remember to go back to. Your dog jumped on the bed and you want to remember to tell him never to do that again. And your second grader said something which reminded you of your second grade teacher. So that's kind of how it kind of seems to go. Now, nightmares are a different story, and we can talk about that at the end if you like. Now, one of the things that happens during REM sleep, which is interesting, is that your muscles become completely relaxed. In fact, they become to the point of paralysis. This is very important so that you do not act out your dreams. So I'm going to digress for just a second and tell you a story about a patient that I have where this what we call atonia does not exist. So he has something called REM behavior disorder, where he actually does act out his dreams. So I'm originally from a small town outside Atlanta, Georgia, called Sandy Springs, Georgia. And so Sandy Springs has got a decent sized hunting community. And so if you're a hunter and you shoot a doe and you don't kill it, you either have to slit its throat or crack its neck. It's the most humane thing to do. So this guy who's a hunter woke up with his wife's head ready to crack her neck. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. People are always like, really? I swear to you. Now, first question I always get, did he kill her? Nope. No lives have been spared to tell you guys this story. Number two, are they still married? Here's what I can tell you is she is a patient woman. To be fair, we discovered what it was. It was REM behavior disorder. With one medication called Klonopin, we were able to silence the behavior and have him at home in bed, completely safe. What was more interesting, however, was that REM behavior disorder turns out to be a precursor in about 35% of cases for Parkinson's syndrome. And so we were actually able to catch it almost 10 years early for this gentleman. So we really changed the course of his life just by looking at his sleep. And I guess that's really the lesson to be learned here, right? Is if your sleep is messed up, there's something wrong, right? There's something physically wrong, there's something mentally wrong, something is going on. During REM sleep, we actually see an increase in respiration, blood pressure, pulse, temperature, things like that. And dreaming occurs because of increased brain activity. And REM sleep has a tendency to occur in the last third of the night. So we're going to stop with all the science and have a little recipe. And so one of the big things that we know is that magnesium turns out to be very important for sleep. It helps with circadian rhythmicity. So that being said, nobody has enough magnesium in their diet. You could be popping pills, or you could get it from this recipe for banana tea. So it's not really tea. All it is you take an organic banana, wash it off, cut off the tip and the stem, cut it in half, leave the fruit in it and the peel on it, and drop it into 3 cups of boiling water. It's a boiling a banana, and then you drink the water, okay? It's loaded with magnesium. It turns out that the peel has 3 times the amount of magnesium that the fruit itself does. So it's pretty good. It's very banana-y, as my daughter likes to say. So you really gotta like bananas. But it's a great thing to use. It doesn't interact with any medications. You can give it to seniors. I have one mom who puts it in a popsicle molds. So how do you figure out what time you should go to sleep? Well, if you take your normal wake up time and you count back 7.5 hours, that would be considered your optimal bedtime, right? So why 7.5 hours? Well, remember, you have 90-minute cycles, and these cycles, you have 5 of them. 5 times 90 is 450 minutes, divided by 60 is 7.5 hours. So that's where we get that number from. Oh, my slides are not working.
Dr. Breus, there was one quick question. Someone asked
great.
how long to boil the banana tea for.
Oh, boil the banana tea, usually till the bananas turn brown. So somewhere in the neighborhood of like 3 or 5 minutes, something like that.
Perfect.
Yep, no problem. So if you wake up at 6:30 and you count backwards 7.5 hours, you get to 11 p.m. So that helps you automatically have a new calculation of when to go to bed. I mean, let's think about it. When was the last time somebody told you to go to bed? What were you, like 8? So it's a fluctuating number. If you know what time to shoot for, you might actually do it, and it could be a lot healthier for you. So Napa latte. So this is my super duper hack that I use for people. who didn't get a good night's sleep, kind of dragging it, and are saying to themselves, look, I got to have some energy. I got a big presentation today. Something's going on. What do I do? So here's what you do is you take a 6-ounce cup of drip black coffee, throw 3 ice cubes in it merely to cool it down, slug it, and then immediately take a 25-minute nap. So remember when I was talking to you in the beginning of the lecture and I told you about this stuff called adenosine that accumulates in your brain? Here's what's fascinating. If you look at the molecular structure of adenosine and the molecular structure of caffeine, off by 1 molecule. So when you drink the caffeine and you take a quick nap, you'll burn through some adenosine. The caffeine is waiting in the wings. Boom, it kicks in. You're good for 4 hours, guaranteed every time. Don't do a Napa latte every day, but if you need it, you should use it. So what are some things that you can do during the daytime or during the nighttime that can affect your sleep at night? I'm sorry, 8 effective tips for your nighttime routine. Sorry, got my words jumbled there. So number 1, we got to talk about the booze. So there's a really big difference between going to sleep and passing out, right? So if it takes the average human approximately 1 hour to digest 1 alcoholic beverage, which is kind of true, then if you have 1 alcoholic beverage, you should drink 1 glass of water, wait 1 hour before bed. 2 alcoholic beverages, 2 glasses of water, 2 hours before bed. Once you hit the 3rd drink, weird stuff happens. So that's when really people get more energy from alcohol. Men can become more aggressive. Neither one of them is a great idea before bed. So I say keep it at 2 drinks, limit, and then stop 3 hours before bed, and you should be in good shape. Exercise, I love it when people exercise. Primarily, it improves sleep quality, like almost across the board. So you can't really go wrong with exercise. But one thing to note is you don't want to exercise too close to bedtime because it increases your core body temperature. And remember, you want your core body temperature to be going down, not up, as you're getting ready for bed. So one of the things that I like to do during the hour before bed is chop it up into 3 20-minute segments because it's kind of hard to know what to do during that time. And remember, sleep is not an on-off switch. It's more like slowly pulling your foot off the gas and slowly putting your foot on the brakes, right? There's a process that has to occur there. So take that hour and chop it up into 3 20-minute segments. 20 minutes for just stuff you got to do, 20 minutes for hygiene, and then 20 minutes for some kind of meditation, relaxation, prayer. You guys are all going to get to experience this awesome thing that we're going to do after my lecture with Kristen. So you could do some of that stuff during your power down hour for sure, right? Another thing that I like, this might sound a little hokey, but there's data to prove it, a gratitude list. So there's data to suggest that optimism before bed not only helps you fall asleep more quickly, but gives you more positive dreams. I don't know about you, but both of those things sound good. So do a gratitude list before bed. I don't think it's going to do you any harm. And I enjoy it, and people find it to be very helpful. Blue light blocking glasses. So this is something that's cropped up recently, but I think it's something that's here to stay. So we know that the light from laptops, cell phones, televisions, these types of things can have an effect on our sleep. But if you wear these blue light blocking glasses, I have some, but I don't happen to have them with me. They're amber lenses. You got to make sure you get the amber lensed ones. Some people are selling them now without the amber lenses, and quite frankly, they don't work as well. So that's something that you could utilize as well. Now, I'm the only sleep doctor in the universe that says it's okay to fall asleep with the TV on. Yes, you heard it here. I know, complete heresy. But at the end of the day, my wife falls asleep with the television on. And when I studied her to understand why she does this, here's what she said was she doesn't actually watch it. She listens to it sort of out of the corner of her ear. And she said it's enough of a distraction where it doesn't, allow her to think, because her problem is she's got monkey mind. She said her mind just goes and goes and goes. So most people have got a TV with a TV timer built into it. So what I suggest for people to do is set the timer for 2 or 3 hours after you go to bed. It turns off, everybody's happy. Stay cool in bed. That 18 is Celsius, right? So it's about 65 or 68 degrees. That's where you really want to be in the high 60s. If you can get it that cool, it's great for your sleep. And also, I think people should learn a new philosophy about sleep. I did actually talking with Haston. So I am actually the proud owner of a Haston's bed. I bought it myself. And it was really interesting because as a sleep specialist, we were never really taught about the culture surrounding Hastings and sort of what that means and where that comes from and that sort of aspect to it. And for me, that was one of the things that really kind of brought me in to the fold, and made me want to, discuss it more. And so when I learned more about the product, I learned more about the culture, and I'm thrilled with my bed. I actually wrote about it. If you go to my blog on thesleepdoctor.com, you'll see, or we might have included it in your press kit, that you can see my experience on the product. It wasn't like I adopted to it, overnight, but we have it. We really enjoy it, and it's been working out quite well. And so I wanted to, at this point, open it up for some questions and see if people had any questions before I continued on.
I think there was one quick question in the chat box, Dr. Breus, from Mylan. She was asking if you could quickly share about sleep paralysis.
Oh, of course. It's so funny. Everybody wants to know about sleep paralysis. So sleep paralysis is this phenomenon that's kind of interesting where most of the time it occurs when you're sleep deprived. So this is a situation where, let's say you're normally getting 7.5 hours, and let's say you got 5 or 4 hours of sleep, right? So lots of different things can kind of happen. But one of the big ones is that your body kind of gets stuck in the paralysis from REM sleep. Remember how I was telling you about that guy who acts out his dreams? Well, nobody else is supposed to do that. They have this paralysis. That mechanism seems to carry over for the first 30 to 40 seconds for people when they're really, really sleep deprived. Now, to be fair, it also happens in people with narcolepsy as well. It's considered to be what's called the narcolepsy triad. There's 3 big symptoms of narcolepsy that we identify early on. That happens to be one of them. But to be even more fair, almost everybody experiences sleep paralysis at some time in their life, depending upon how sleep deprived they get.
Got it. And then I think we can do one more quick question before we kick it off to Kimberly. But Mary asked us, what do you recommend if your partner likes to fall asleep with the TV on, but you don't?
This is a good one. So there's a couple of ways that you can go about doing this. So it depends on what bothers you the most, the sound or the light. So what they now make pillow speakers that you can have and that can attach to the television. So the person who wants to watch TV can only hear it in their pillow. So that's an option in many cases that a lot of people seem to like. The second thing is if it's the light and you don't mind a sleep mask, once you start with a sleep mask, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to be addicted to them. I started with one years ago and I love it. It's great because it really just gives you complete and total darkness. You don't have to worry about anything, which is great, but it's still easy to wake up with it. The thing I don't like about blackout curtains is it's hard for me to wake up in a room with blackout curtains because it's just pitch black, all morning long. Whereas with my eye mask, sometimes I can sneak a little light in there and helps wake me up a little bit. So yeah, I that's what I would recommend.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you, Dr.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Why do I sometimes forget my dreams?
So here's the thing is most people forget their dreams. Dreams aren't really meant to be remembered in most cases, because what's happening is your brain is trying to process through information to kind of put it into a repository. And so that's sort of the manifestation of what's kind of going by. Some dreams are meant to be remembered only from the standpoint of they represent stressful things in a person's life. And so some people who have repetitive dreams or nightmares, those dreams are meant to be remembered. It's interesting. I have to say that when you train at sleep doctor school, they don't teach you a lot about dreams because we really look more at the things about REM sleep, not necessarily what REM sleep produces. That said, I did a really fun, interesting podcast on sleep success with Dr. Michael Breus, where I interviewed a dream therapist. Now, not a dream interpreter, but a dream therapist. Now, this is what was new to me. Dream interpreters, I have to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of them. I don't understand if they have any science behind what they're doing. But this dream therapist was fascinating. So she was Jungian trained, meaning she trained under the guise of the schooling of Carl Jung, which is a very famous dream analysis school of thought. And what she does is she has people write down their dreams and bring the dream into the therapy session. And then she creates a safe environment in there. And then she basically pushes play on the dream. And then the dream starts to play itself out and the individual gets the opportunity to process the information. Because that's really what I think dreams are, is I think that it's processing of a feeling, a thought, an idea, things of that nature. There's still a lot of mystery to sleep. for sure. There's a lot of things we just don't know about sleep. There was just a paper released 2 weeks ago. My friend Ken Poller, I actually got a hand in this project where we were able to reliably communicate to a dreamer inside the dream.
Mm,
Like Inception, kind of.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. It was really cool work to do. So anyway,
Wow.
that's kind of all I know about dreams.
Very good. Okay. Well, that sounds good. I think if anyone has any other questions for Dr. Breus, we can get them at the Q&A at the end.
Yep.
But thank you, Dr. Breus, for that presentation. That was really interesting. And now I'm going to kick things off to Kimberly Ritt. So Kimberly is an integrative wellness coach and founder of BHU. I'll let Kimberly introduce a little bit more about what BHU is, and then she'll be leading us through a 20-minute yoga flow. So feel free to use the yoga blocks that were provided to you during the flow. And if you like, feel free to turn on the Spotify playlist that we emailed over as well. Just make sure if you are playing any music that you are on mute, but totally up to you if you want to use that or not. Yeah, without further ado, I will kick things off to Kimberly.
Thanks, Catherine. And thank you so much to Mary, Pat, and Dr. Breus. Hard act to follow, man. But I'm going to go straight home and make that banana tea. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah.
So my name's Kimberly Ritt. I am an integrated wellness coach and founder of BHU. I'm going to share my screen real quick just to give you a quick intro. Okay, so one second. So what is BHU? BHU is a wellness brand that empowers home and design professionals and enthusiasts to increase energy, improve mental clarity, and overcome stress. Ultimately, the goal is to become a more versatile and strong version of yourself so that you're able to attract like-minded people and clients. So really where I come in is I work with people through wellness coaching, yoga, and meditation, both individuals and groups. And the name BHU is really all about infusing color as it relates to our well-being. So I touch on three main areas, which I will get to in 1 second. But color, as many of you I'm sure know, are wavelengths of light, and each color has its own frequency, just like we as humans operate at our own frequency, whether we're awake or asleep, and are attracted to people and other colors based on their frequencies. So where this comes into play as it relates to our well-being is really first and foremost our energy. Where are those chakra points in the body? How are they informing our needs and our desires through color? And how can we amplify them through doing different mindfulness practices? The second area is nutrition, really paying attention. They always say eat a more colorful plate to what you put in your body, whether it's banana tea or things that can really aid in your digestion or increase your energy, things of that nature. So really paying attention to those areas and what your body truly needs. And there really is bio-individual science behind that, which I'm sure Dr. Breus knows something about as well. And the third area is about your surroundings. So this is really where that design piece comes into play. And it can be anything from inside the home to when you're out in nature to in your office, which a lot of times these days is your home, but paying attention to those colors, textures, and sensory details that play a huge role in our mood and our reactions to people, places, and things, and ultimately how we operate and function. So why I chose the design industry was to hone in on that form versus function element and to help designers create beautiful and functional spaces, but also to consider that well-being piece and how to ensure that the people they were designing spaces for not only felt comfortable in their spaces, but also felt like they could perform at their best or at their highest frequency. And also, as I'm sure many of you know, in working with designers, that it is a very demanding industry. And a lot of times these designers are working endless hours to create these spaces for clients. And at times it can be at the cost of their own well-being or their own self-care practices, especially as it relates to winding down at the end of the day, practicing things that help rest your mind, body, and soul, and getting you into that transition to sleep peacefully. the main other reason that I chose design is I've worked with designers for years and really felt like there was a gap in the industry and an overlap in the industry of designers having interest in wellness, but not necessarily knowing how to correlate the two. So with that, you should have received a seafoam green yoga block. And the reason that I sent you that particular color is really in relation to our theme tonight, which is all about creating this tranquil, calm, peaceful atmosphere as you wind down from your day. And those are all the elements that represent seafoam green. So you can't see it now, but I'm also wearing seafoam green yoga pants. And we are going to transition into that nice calming meditation and yoga section of the class. So if you have an area where you can sit, it doesn't have to be a yoga mat. There'll be primarily a lot of stretching in this, and we'll hold the poses a little bit longer. But grab your block and come into a comfortable seat. There's 3 options here. So you can take the block in between your legs the long way. You can also take the block in a cross-legged seated position underneath your glutes, also the long way. Or you don't need the block at all. You can just place it to your side and rest in that seated position. So I want you to come down into that seat, whatever option you chose. Sit up nice and tall. And then begin to roll your shoulders. Sorry, just adjusting the camera here a little bit. Roll your shoulders down your spine. Relax your palms, either facing up to receive energy or down to store energy, and close your eyes. Begin to channel into your Ujjayi pranayama breath. So this is the breath where you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, which is also really restorative to help wind down your nervous system, calm your nerves, and transition into that sleep. So I want you to just take a nice long Ujjayi inhale through the nose and closed mouth Ujjayi through the nose. Nice. Let's hold that in for 2 counts and out for 2 counts. In for 3 counts and out for 3 counts. In for 4 and out for 4. In for 5 and out for 5. Counting back down, in for 4, out for 4. Use that diaphragmatic breath in through your nose, out through your nose. In for 3 and out for 3. In for 2, out for 2. In for 1. Slow and steady out for 1. Beautiful. With your eyes still closed, begin to squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears and then roll your shoulders back and down your spine on the Ujjayi exhale. Let's do 2 more. In and up and down and back. Last one, big and up and big and down. Nice. With your eyes still closed, begin to take neck circles up and around the left. Really articulating each movement, stopping anywhere that you need a little bit of extra tension, pausing into the movements. And then breathe, switch the rotation up and around the right. Make your way back to center. Begin to slowly blink your eyes open. Nice. Then relax your palms down on the mat and step back into your downward facing dog. So you can just place the block if you chose to use it to your side and step back into down dog. So spread your hands and feet shoulder width distance apart. Root down into your heels as much as you can. Pedal into your knees. Slowly start to awaken your lower tailbone. Lengthen through your back. Then just hold that neutral down dog. Feel everything in the backs of your legs engage. Hug your core up into your spine. Take a nice big inhale here. Ujjayi exhale. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, shift forward to a high plank. Lift your hips up to shoulder height, hug in your core, breathe here. Stay for the inhale. On your Ujjayi exhale, push back to down dog. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, push back. Inhale, shift. Exhale, push. Inhale, shift and hold. Hug in your core 1 more time and slowly bend your elbows in. Come all the way down onto your mat. Plant your feet about hip width distance apart. Bring your arms out to a T. Rest your right cheek down on the mat and then push into your left palm and extend your left leg up and over. So your right wrist is directly out from that shoulder. Place your ear to the mat as if you're laying in a pillow. Just breathe here. Option to close your eyes for a breath. Start to channel in that optimism that Dr. Breus mentioned. How can you go into your peaceful sleep with an open mind? Stay for 1 more inhale. On your exhale, reach your left arm a little further. Rest your left ear down on the mat. Push into your right palm. Extend your right leg up and over. Just breathe here. Hold the pose. Few more inhales and exhales. Stay for your inhale. Then come back into that arms out with a T pose. So both arms come directly out from shoulders. Plant your feet deep into the mat and lift just your top half. Squeeze your shoulders together. Rotate your gaze down to protect your neck. Breathe here. Lengthening through our spine. Stay for 1 more inhale. Rise. And exhale, slowly lower down. Push back up into your high plank. Spread your knees wider than the width of your mat. Bring your big toes to touch. Lengthen through your tailbone. Push your glutes back. Come into child's pose. Allow your forehead to root down into the mat. And just breathe here. You can roll your inner thighs in and out. Lengthen through your spine. Just start to slow down your breath. Stay here for 1 more inhale. On your exhale, shift forward into a tabletop position. Spread your hands and feet shoulder width distance apart. Level out your spine. Hug your core up into your ribs. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take a nice big inhale here. Slow and steady Ujjayi exhale. Nice. Inhale, duck your belly down, send your gaze up, squeeze your shoulders back, cow pose. Hold here, breathe. Exhale, curl your spine nice and slow. Tuck your core up into your ribs, push into your palms for cat. At your own pace, begin to switch between these 2 poses. Inhale as you go up to cow. Exhale as you curl your spine for cat. And just continue to flow and breathe. Again, always feel free in these poses to close your eyes, really channel into your mind and breath. One more full round here. And make your way back to your neutral spine. Walk your hands over to the left and stop directly out from your left hip. Square your shoulders, keep your hands about shoulder width distance apart. And then option to walk your hands a little bit further out to the side and allow your glutes to melt diagonally down, stretching through that right oblique. Just breathe here. Stay for 1 more inhale. On your exhale, walk your hands up. Begin to switch sides over to the right. Again, hands directly out from that right hip. You can stay here or extend your grip further to really elongate that left oblique. Stay for the inhale. And then make your way back to your tabletop. Level out your spine one more time. Extend your right hand and gaze up to the sky. Add in a few wrist rolls to the right and to the left. Exhale, thread the needle. Send your right hand through that side gap you made, and then allow your right ear to rest, again, as if you're resting in a pillow. Your glutes are just hanging out. More important here to stretch through that right hand to deepen that midline twist. Great cleansing pose after a long day. Just close your eyes. One more inhale here. Slow and steady Ujjayi exhale. Inhale, come back up to your tabletop. Extend left hand and gaze up to the sky. Again, add in some wrist rolls to the right and to the left. Exhale, thread the needle, send your hand through. Again, rest your left ear down onto the mat. Close your eyes and breathe. Reach through your left fingertips 1 inch further, deepen that midline twist. Stay for the inhale. On your exhale, make your way back to your static tabletop. Walk your hands up so that you're seated in standing on your knees. Just adjust this a little bit. So spread your knees about hip width distance apart. Tuck your tailbone forward and then use your hands to physically push that tailbone forward 1 more inch. Spread your fingers wide, point your elbows back. Exhale, camel pose. Begin to send your gaze up and take loud open mouth exhales. As you continue to send your gaze up, maybe a few inches back, really be mindful of that lower spine. If it's accessible, you can also release your hands down onto your heels, but again, just really listen to your body. Breathe here. Stay for 1 more inhale. If you released your hands down to your heels, be sure to bring your hands back up to that lower spine to support your back. And then slowly lower your glutes onto your heels. Release your hands onto your legs, close your eyes. Camel can sometimes bring up some hidden emotions, kind of like those dreams we were just talking about. So give yourself a second to process any emotions, thoughts that you need to. Stay for 1 more inhale. And Ujjayi exhale. Blink your eyes open. Relax onto your right or left side. Then extend your legs out long in front of you. Flex your feet. Wiggle out your legs a little bit. Circulate the blood flow. Then extend your arms overhead. Add in a few wrist rolls to the right and to the left. Inhale, lengthen through both arms. Exhale, Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. The most important thing on this pose is not to curl your spine down to try to get your chest to your legs, but rather focus each exhale on sending your chest forward rather than down. So everyone together, take a nice big inhale. On your Ujjayi exhale, send your chest 1 inch forward, squeeze your shoulders back. Inhale. 1 more inch. Inhale. 1 more inch and hold here. Take a little bit of a second for an assessment. Is that lower spine already in place where it needs to be? If you have a little bit more room, maybe hinge forward 1 more inch. Just stay here and breathe. Stay for 1 more inhale. On your exhale, begin to hinge up. Push your hands into the mat, scoot your glutes a little bit closer to your heels. Plant your feet hip width distance on the mat and grab for your block. Place it on your left side. Extend your arms out long in front of you. Sit up nice and tall. As slow as you possibly can, really slow. Lower down 1 vertebrae at a time. So engage your core as you go. Focus on slowing down your breathing, your mind, your thoughts. Then roll down on that spine. Place your palms facing down on the mat. Grab for the block. And you can choose any height for supported bridge. So either the flat, semi-tall, or all the way tall way. Place it underneath your pant line. So it's right where your pant meets your shirt is where the top of the block should be. Ladies, if you're wearing high-waisted pants or leggings, place it a little bit lower than you'd expect. And then just allow your feet to rest hip-width distance apart. Rest your palms down to store energy. Close your eyes. Just breathe here. This is one of my all-time favorite poses in large part because the block does all of the work for you. All you have to do is rest and breathe. Stay for one more inhale here. On the exhale, lift your hips to release the block. And just as slowly as we rolled down earlier, lower one vertebrae at a time, upper, mid to low back. Rest your glutes. Extend your left leg out long, hug your right knee into your right shoulder. Take a few ankle rolls to the right and to the left. And then use your left hand. Place a little bit of pressure on your psoas or hip bone region. So right where that crease or that angle starts to come into your hips, just push down on that area. And then with the inside or the palm of your right hand, open up your knee a few inches out to the right. It doesn't need to be big. Most important thing here is that left glute is melted into the mat. Just breathe, close your eyes. Take note of any awakenings or any areas in your body that need a little bit of extra attention. Stay for one more inhale here. On the exhale, use both hands to bring that knee back to center, and then use both hands to cross your knee to the opposite side. So out to the left, directly out from your hip. Find that 90-degree angle in your knee. And two options with your arms and supine twist. You can bring your arms out to a T, so directly out, or you can send your hands overhead and slightly to the right, so shifting at a diagonal opposite to your knee, which allows for that oblique stretch in your left side. Root both shoulders into the mat. Close your eyes. With each exhale, feel that knee start to inch a little closer to the mat, deepening that midline cleansing twist. Stay for one more inhale here. And on your exhale, unwind, extend right leg out long, hug left knee up and in. Again, adding some ankle rolls to the right and to the left. Then place your right hand on that psoas or hip region, push down lightly. Take the palm of your left hand, open up your knee to the left. Listen to your body, make sure your right glute stays intact with the mat, just breathe. One more inhale here. On your exhale, use both hands to cross that knee up and over to the right. Again, find a 90-degree angle directly out from that hip. Bring your arms out to a T or overhead and slightly to the left. Finding that deep right body stretch. Root your shoulders down into the mat. Close your eyes. Stay here for one more inhale. On the exhale, make your way back to center. Hug both knees up into your chest. Grab for the insteps of both feet. Stamp your feet up toward the sky. And then option in that happy baby pose to rock from side to side. If you need a little bit more lengthening, you can extend one or both legs out long and find a straddle. Really just ease into it. Come back to center, extend your legs out long, send your arms overhead, just like you're waking up or going to sleep. Take a really nice long stretch, reach your fingers and toes as long as you can. Big in through your nose, and exhale out through your nose. 2 more just like that, in and out. Last one, in through your nose, out through your nose. Nice. And blink your eyes open, hug your knees into your chest. And for our final pose, you have 2 options. If you have the room, you can take your block and come into legs up the wall. I'll show you over here real quick, but basically, you want your glutes on the block and your legs up the wall. So it doesn't need to be perfect, but any position where you can lift your hips higher than your heart and just rest your feet. If that's not accessible where you are, you can just take final Shavasana and relax your legs out long, arms down by your sides, and close your eyes. Legs up the wall is probably one of the best positions you can do because it allows the blood to circulate through your body, calms down your nervous system. So stay in this final Shavasana pose, close your eyes, and just enjoy a few moments of silence here. In this pose, acknowledge for a second that you gave yourself time to breathe, to move in a steady beat, to feel the world around you wash away. You gave yourself a moment of self-care, some time to completely devote to your own well-being, not only because you need it, but because you deserve it. I invite you to stay either legs up the wall or in Shavasana as long as you'd like. If you'd like to slowly make your way back to the present, just like as if you're opening up and reaching into the new day, begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, rock your head from side to side. Bring awareness to your thoughts and to your breath. Wherever you are, extend your legs out long, send your arms overhead with your eyes closed. Take one more big inhale. Loud Ujjayi exhale. And come into fetal pose. Roll on to your right or left side. Hug your knees into your chest. Use your arm as a pillow to rest your head, just like you would in sleep. Shavasana marks the death of our practice, and fetal pose represents rebirth. So the next time you have that monkey mind or a million distractions in your way, come back to this pose and acknowledge that you deserve this rest. When you're ready, push up into a nice tall seat. Come into a cross-legged seated position with your eyes closed. Place one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach. And let's close class with 3 cleansing Ujjayi breaths. So again, relax your shoulders, close your eyes. Take a nice long inhale through your nose. Ujjayi exhale. In through your nose. Out through your nose. Last one, in and out. Bring your thumbs to third eye center to rest between your eyebrows. Bow down in gratitude. Namaste. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Kimberly. That was great. We are going to be jumping now into the Q&A section. I know everyone's probably waking up a little bit after that Shavasana. Mary Pat, before we open it up to questions from everyone, do you want to start off by talking through the side sleeper pillow that everyone received?
Yes, I do. So thank you. So I'm going to show everybody. Let's see here. So if everybody can see, Kimberly, you might want to turn your volume all the way down to zero. So we were talking a little bit about the value of products that help support your sleep. And since I couldn't send everybody a bed today, we thought we'd go to the next item, which is support and pressure relief for your head is as important as your bed is. And that combination is really critical, especially when you're a side sleeper. So this pillow right here that we sent everybody is called a side sleeper pillow. And we make them here so that everyone sees it's, again, only down, no feathers and quills that go into it. We can make them at different tensions depending on how wide your shoulders are in the bed that you're on, how much your shoulder gets into the bed. And the way you use it, because everybody saw this and probably thought, what is this thing? So what it does is it tucks underneath your shoulder, and then to help hold your chest and to keep the perpendicular, so your spine to your neck and your shoulders, it helps supports this way. Many side sleepers use two pillows to help support their chest and their shoulders. And this is done all with one. So I'm going to have Kimberly help me here, and I'm going to jump on one of these beds. Here, Kimberly, we're going to play with this here and do a little, this is how it's used. So to give you all a little lesson and a little extra support, give this a try. You can also use it on your back. And it gives great support underneath your neck. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, if anyone has questions either for Mary Pat, for Kimberly, or Dr. Breus, we can open that up now. If people feel comfortable taking themselves off mute, they can feel free to ask their questions that way. Or if you would rather type them into the chat box, we can direct the questions there as too. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to get started.
Is there a healthiest way to sleep, like side or back or stomach?
So yeah, it's a good question. Looking at it from a positional standpoint, I developed a concept that I call sleep posture. Actually we can get you the blog on it if you're interested, but basically there's an idea of how to sleep in order to allow for the best in terms of blood flow. And so what would make sense would be on your back, right? Because that way you're that's how you hang the muscles across the skeletal frame with the greatest surface area. So that would be the most supportive. So lying on your back, sort of like this, would in theory be the most supportive way for you to be sleeping. However, if you snore or you have sleep apnea, that's like the worst position that you should be in, because all your anatomy falls to the back of your throat, and you start snoring and gagging and gasping and all of those types of things. So it depends on kind of you a little bit, but that would be from a medical standpoint. That would be kind of how we would think about it. I don't know from a like a yogic standpoint. I think there are sleep positions, right? There are positions in which you go to sleep, right? Isn't that what like Savasana would be or something like that?
Yeah, I've actually read that sleeping on your stomach without a pillow is supposed to be best for you. But I mean, you are the expert, my friend.
That sounds terrible. I'm a stomach sleeper and my neck hurts every morning if I sleep on my stomach. I had to train myself to sleep on my side because I was a tummy sleeper forever. So that doesn't make sense to me, because you'd have to literally jack your neck, like, like 90 degrees. Maybe you
Yeah.
could use Mary Pat's pillows. That would work.
Yes, potentially.
Mary Pat, do you have anything to add there, just on the types of pillows that side sleepers or back sleepers or stomach sleepers should use?
Well, I think based on the experience of being in this business for over 15 years, is we've learned that the mattress and the pillow need to be fitted together. So I do
100%.
encourage people, if you can't come to my store or one of my stores in Chicago, Dallas, or Naples, is to go to one of the better mattress stores and try the things together. So find the bed and the right amount of support and pressure relief for you, and try that with a pillow. So if you're a back sleeper, you probably need less support, because you don't want your head and neck pushing forward, because that's what happens. People pile up pillows behind them and they fall asleep with their head and their neck forward. Whereas technically, like, you look at most children don't sleep with a pillow. They sleep on their back with no pillow. It's adults that start to use pillows as your shoulders get wider and bigger and you sleep on your side. So if you're a side sleeper, again, the importance of trying a mattress that's either as close to yours with the right pillow will help allow you to get your neck and your spine in alignment.
Perfect.
And stomach sleepers tend to sleep with either nothing or a very, very flat pillow.
Got it. We had another question here. How do you deal with when one partner is too warm while sleeping and the other is chilly?
So that's a great question. One of the things, again, that I recommend is focusing on mattresses that have natural materials. So natural materials breathe. Foam and latex both get hot. So if you think of foam and latex, when they're compressed, it turns into a solid. Then you put a large, heavy comforter over it, and it's like locking body temperature in that space. Lighter weight or layering, like we talk a lot about when you make a bed, layer. So lighter weight linens with a blanket or several blankets or a duvet allows that person who's cooler to get more, to add, more warmth, and someone who sleeps warmer and needs less coverage, that you do the layering system. That combined with the natural materials. I tell people to steer away from this cool gel. These are chemical products that are developed to create a cool sensation, but they're doing it chemically.
Got it. Dr. Breus, do you have anything to add there?
So from a clinical standpoint, there's a lot of reasons why one person might be warm, one person might be cold. So clinically looking at that, somebody could have Raynaud's disease, somebody could have hypothyroid, hyperthyroid. Like, there's all kinds of things from a temperature regulatory standpoint that we would look at from a sleep perspective. One thing that I'd always recommend is, for people who like to sleep warm, wear socks. For people who like to sleep cold, don't wear socks and put your feet out from under the covers, because there's no hair on the bottom of your feet. And so you express heat from there much better than you do anywhere else. You ever notice how if you're hot at night and you stick your feet out from under the covers, your whole body cools down? That's why. So I've saved more marriages with that tip than just about anything else.
Another question here actually about couples. That was a great lead in, Dr. Breus, but Shannon here was asking, how do you fit a mattress for couples? Mary, Pat, do you want to talk about that first?
Absolutely. So technically, most partners are not the same size and do require a different amount of support and pressure relief. So that was one of the other reasons. My husband at the time was about 6 feet and 225, and I'm about 5'2" and 105, and we should not be on the same mattress. So one of the things that I learned early on with Heston's was that you could do one king mattress and have a split tension. So you can do medium on one side and firm on another. Technically, it's still one mattress. Everything in it is the same except for the spring. So they changed the springs because it is the thickness of the coil and how it's tempered reacts to someone's body weight. So it literally is a game changer. And I suggest to people, like, find those brands that do it, and it will you fall asleep faster, don't move around as much. It's honestly, it's life-changing.
Right. Perfect. And Dr. Breus, we had a question for you from Katie. She was saying, ever since I had COVID last March, I've been continuously fatigued. And no matter how much I sleep, I don't feel fully rested. Do you have any advice for how to approach this?
So yeah, okay. So the answer, unfortunately, is no. I don't have an approach, but I'm just saying, yeah, I'm trying to understand the scenario. So had COVID last March, so a year ago, COVID, and you're still. So you could have what people are talking about is this idea called long haulers syndrome. So it's that there are some people who are going to have a fatigue related syndrome for a significant period of time. I'll be, yes, a full year ago and still have antibodies. Wow, fascinating. I wonder if it's the antibodies. I don't know. Gosh, to be honest with you, it's such a new scenario. It's not something, you're the first person to ever ask it to me. So it's not something that I've had a chance to really look at. What I can tell you is they are using melatonin as of all things, because it's a super duper antioxidant, but it's also a circadian pacemaker. And that seems to have helped some people. But to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that question. Let me get back to you and see if I can come up with some stuff. That's an interesting question to really think about.
And we had another question here from Mary Jo asking, any tips for adjusting to daylight savings time?
So the good news is we only lost an hour, and it takes your body 1 day to adjust to 1 hour. So you're already there. So don't worry about it. Kids are worse though. Yeah, kids are worse. If you have infants, it could take a week. And that really stinks when your baby wakes up an hour, earlier than they normally, then you think that's no fun. But yeah, but generally speaking, it's fine. Can someone in dream state can speaking to someone in dream state affect their behavior? Oh, so if like the person is dreaming and you are talking to them, is that the question? I think that must be the question. So if you're trying to like whisper, like, buy me a Ferrari, buy me a Ferrari, buy me a Ferrari, I'm not convinced you're going to get a Ferrari if that's what you're going for.
But wait, Dr. Breus, can I interrupt? What if you whisper, buy me a Vividis?
Now that, yeah, maybe, you never know. I don't know. That's a good one. That is a good one. What I would say, in my study. So in the lucid dreaming study where we could communicate, she's asking about the lucid dreaming study where we could communicate with the dreamers. Could we affect their behavior? We could not affect their behavior. We could affect their surroundings. So what we did was we paired a surrounding with a particular tone. And so there's two things that most people who are lucid dreamers want to do. So this was a lucid dreaming study. For folks who don't know what lucid dreaming is, this is where you become conscious inside your dream. So you actually, it is like Inception in a way, because you wake up and you're like, holy cow, but the rules of physics no longer apply, and you can fly and you can, go wherever you want and all these crazy things. So the two things, oddly enough, that people seem to do is fly or sleep with a supermodel. I know that sounds ridiculous, but those are the two most reported things that people do in lucid dreams. I guess it's just whatever the fantasy is. So what's interesting is we taught them how to, instead of moving their eyes side to side, we taught them how to move their eyes up and down as a signal. And when they move their eyes up and down, we would pair it with the tone. And one tone was for flying and one tone was for something else. We did the flying tone, just to be clear. When we sent the flying tone in, sure enough, I think over half the people reported that it changed the channel. Right. So wherever they were dreaming about, it literally all of a sudden, boom, they were flying. So it changed the channel. So that was the most interesting thing. That was pretty weird, but that was the most interesting thing that we discovered. The paper just came out 2 weeks ago. We didn't have a whole lot of people that went through the study. There was like 5 or 6. So we paired our data with 4 other labs in different parts of the world who were doing similar research. It's really quite fascinating.
Yeah. And then Barry actually had one more question. Is sleep greatly affected during grief?
Yes, 100%. And so for sure, we know that during bereavement in particular, There's long periods of insomnia, or there can be. There can be long periods of oversleeping, so hypersomnia, so where you just don't want to get out of bed. You know, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between bereavement, sleep, and depression, to be fair. And so a lot of times what we try to do is if people are having sleep-related effects post-grief or post-scenario where the grief started, it makes sense to talk to a therapist and kind of think through that idea specifically with a grief therapist. I did a little bit of sleep-related grief work with people. The biggest thing that we discovered was that people wanted to not dream about the person that had passed because it was too painful to see them every night. And so that was one of the biggest things now that I'm thinking about it for them. And then other people only wanted to dream about the person because that's where they got a chance to see them. So it was very interesting. But it's very difficult work for sure. And it takes time, you know, for sure. That's about as much as I know about it. I'm sorry, I'm not a grief counselor, but interesting work for sure.
Okay. Is there any final questions that people have? Okay.
So we're good.
Okay, I think we're good. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We hope everyone enjoyed the event tonight. We'll be sending out a recording of this event to everyone tomorrow in case you missed anything or if you wanted to look back to any quotes or the presentations that everyone shared. And if you have any further questions that you think of later, feel free to reach out to me and I can either answer them or pass them off to the right person so we can get some more information for you. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it and we hope you enjoy your new side sleeper pillow. Yeah, and feel free to reach out to anything else, but we appreciate it and everyone have a good rest of your sleep awareness week.
Yep, sweet dreams.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Sleep well.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.